So I just received a disturbing email from someone that has a source dealing with EMPs and these solar storms that we've been facing. Wait till you hear what he says and the dangers of what we could see at the first of 2026. This goes along with a researcher that came on the Glenn Beck show saying that we could be looking at an apocalyptic style living scenario if we keep going in the trajectory that we're going in America, but not only that, in the world. We'll discuss what he's talking about. Also, we're going to discuss GMO mosquitoes. They're being released by the millions in Hawaii because they want to treat the birds. Do we think this is a good thing? Because at the same time, remember how they wanted to genetically modify ticks, and now all of a sudden there's people dying of meat allergies. Also, they wanted to genetically modify the Bovaer, the feed that Bill Gates had, and all of a sudden there's cows dying at an overwhelming amount in Denmark and in Europe. We're going to discuss that modify everything so then we can treat it, then we're going to realize how bad it is for us. UK is withholding information from its people because of this same reason. And then lastly, we're going to discuss the family, the breakdown of our family. We see homeschooling makes changes. Family structure with the father at home makes changes. And then you're going to see the opposite of that. What does other school do? What does a father not in home do? We're going to discuss so many stories today as we discuss it on this Sunday. First, we hope that you took your family to church today. But now let's talk about things that we can learn to make us better. Let's dive in. Hey guys, welcome to our channel. Thank you so very much for being here today. If you are new, please go down here, press subscribe, ring the bell, give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down, that's okay, but let us know what you think about the content of today's video. Remember our other channel, Life with Kobe Max, my vlog channel. You get to see my children, what we do and how we live sustainable, how we raise all this food. So please go check that out. It's such a good channel, uplifting to see the other side of how we prepare and what we do in raising our family. That's important, raising our family. More than raising a farm, raising our children. Go check that channel out. Now let's talk about the stories of the day. We're going to talk about this mass casualty event, this post-apocalyptic style email that I received, but then also what Glenn Beck was interviewed, how it all kind of ties in. So let's go to the email first. I received an email from someone that has an anonymous source in the government. It says, hey, I just want to give you some information. I can't say where it come from, but it is a trusted source. It says, info has been a target date for a possible EMP or solar storm that could cause a catastrophic collapse in the 1st of February, 2026. I know a lot of times people don't realize how dangerous these solar storms are, and the sun going through what they call a kind of a 11-year cycle or 12-year cycle, and we're on what we call the maximum, which means the solar storms are getting worse and they could cause volatility to our grid. The next big impact to our grid could be around February 1st. The person that was writing this email was basically stating this, though. You know, we see these natural phenomenons, but then could government or big players who have an agenda utilize it for their own cause? There was a report that showed that mass casualty events would take place if an EMP put us in a catch-22 where our grid starts struggling. If you listen to All In Podcast, I love All In Podcast. David Freeberg, brilliant guy. Farmer, not all for his practices. He does a lot of hybrid seeds, vegetarian, kind of weird on that aspect. But he made a comment. He said, the solar maximum that's going on right now is a 12-year cycle, and these happen often. He said, but these solar storms are getting worse, things that we've never seen. He said, do you realize the dangers it could cause for our crops? Do we realize the dangers it could cause for our grid? Do you realize the dangers of how long it would take us to fix all these things if all of a sudden a solar storm of the capabilities that they're portraying really happens? Now, we know that in the Bible it talks about, Noah and the flood. We know that there's not going to be anything that's catastrophic that's going to kill the whole world, because ultimately God had a plan for the world, and if you read your Bible, you know what that plan is. But I do want to bring up this that kind of goes along with this, because it kind of goes along with the same scenario of, the dangers that we're facing. If we're not prepared for them, we could be part of that mass casualty event. Listen to this. This is from Glenn Beck. It says, this was interviewed from Timothy Alberino. He's a Christian explorer, and he said, we are on the precipice of a brink of a post-human apocalypse. It says mankind is rushing towards committing the same sin that condemned in the days of Noah. We are building mechanisms for our own destruction. I want to think about this for a second. Think about all the things that we've done to basically build destruction. We're going to talk about AI in just a second, but that is a destructive force. When we talk about the capabilities of war and how we've stepped that up with surveillance and drone capabilities, that's dangerous, because what we're doing is we are basically seeing the demise of Americans. Wait till you hear these stories about AI and how it's taken over different parts of our life, even down to Christians looking to AI because they can't, quote unquote, get an answer from Jesus. I mean, I'm telling you, it's crazy. So what this Christian explorer was saying was, we're seeing signs of wars that we're not stopping, signs of complete debt crises that we're not stopping. Did you see the civil unrest in Mexico? Did you see the civil unrest across the world in Middle East? Have you seen the civil unrest here in America, where we have the right eating its own, the left promising to give you free everything? We're running the course to put ourselves in a very apocalyptic style event. Now, two totally different sources, two totally different situations with this email that I received from Inside Source, and then also from Glenn Beck interviewing this person. But I think they have a lot in common, even with All In talking about the solar maximum. We're seeing signs that could be used to spread an agenda that could harm America. If you're on the right or left, I want you to listen to me very closely before we go to the next point. If you're on the right or left and you see the problems that we're facing, each side may have a different version of it, but we all know we need a revival, a reawakening, or a reset. For the Christian conservative, the right, we would say we need a reset as a revival. We need a turn back to Jesus. We need to change the way that we're doing things, how we look to, sin and the worldly things and people to fix what only God can. The left is saying we need a reset. We need to change global chaos and make it global order, and we're going to establish a new world. See, everyone knows we need something major and catastrophic to happen, or something major and thought-provoking, but also revival and reawakening to happen. Something that's very, very unique. Both sides know we need something. The question is, what is going to win out? The revival and the revitalization of nations, or we're going to see all-out war, chaos, control, or mass casualty events such as the EMP that could be used to do the same thing. Now, this is not meant to scare you. The point of what I'm saying, though, is this is why we try to prepare. This is why we talk about Faraday cages. This is why we try to put up food. This is why, because, for instance, the reason we've built greenhouses and used solar a lot more lately, because I know the grid is vulnerable. I know that our skies are giving us things that are not the best. So therefore, we use greenhouses and ways to grow this, not just in the ground. We use raised bed. We use watering methods. Why do we do that? Because we do believe there's a time where the sun may not play in our favor. There's a time when there's things in our atmosphere that may not play in our favor. There's times that we worry about those things, so we try to prepare. Now, that kind of leads me to the next story with them talking about the mass casualty events, the demise of kind of the world that we know. I want you to listen to what AI is, what's going on with AI. It should scare you to pieces. Elon to Barron CEO, he says, AI will soon run out to doing all human tasks. There's going to be an interesting threshold where AI and robotics pass through and take over for every human job. Literally, it's completing this way faster than we thought. Now, we know on the skilled side it may be slower, like welders, electricians, plumbers. They talked about if you're looking for ways to make extreme amount of money and to take care of your family, look at trades, look at skills. So those right now may be safe. But the lawyers, the doctors, the clerks, the things that could be utilized with tech, all that they said will be replaced with AI. Now, we've talked about that for days. I want you to listen to this next story that should scare you to pieces, though. Since AI is growing, guess what's happening? This is from Remarks News. It says, just in, churches are starting to adopt AI-powered chatbots, letting members to interact with this version of Jesus that AI makes for confession and spiritual guidance. We're allowing AI to be the Antichrist. Now, hear me out. I'm not trying to freak you out. But when we say this innovation is so thought-provoking, so great, so convenient, so good for us, AI is so great, robotics is going to help us so much, even to the point we look to them for spiritual guidance. Did you know there's a person in Japan that just married an AI, a fake person? This is not even real, that she has to wear glasses to see her quote-unquote husband. This happened with a Japanese man in another situation. This happened with another person in Thailand. You're starting to see people wanting to marry this AI fake person. And now people are utilizing it for religious and spiritual guidance. This is setting up for the absolute destruction of mankind and humanity as we know it, because we're putting all our faith and hope in something that is man-made and not God-made. AI is not just dangerous, it's becoming our God, little g. But sadly, most people are making it their big G. This is Sunday. As I told you before with these other things we talked about, if we're not focused on building our family and trying to do what God wants in our life, we're going to fall into pure destruction. What about some of these other innovations? Let's discuss 3 things that's happening right now with animals and with problems going on that could hurt our food system. First, came from Hawaii. Listen to this report. Hawaii has launched a truly unique and high-tech conservation effort. Now, they're trying to build this up as being this amazing innovation. But we know that anytime you put these kind of things in any situation, and man's involvement versus God's involvement, then we actually know it's not going to benefit us for good. The strategy is ingenious, is what this liberal is saying. This releases male carriers of naturally occurring bacteria, which is false. It's a GMO-modified mosquito that will be able to fly. They are dropping millions, listen to this, millions of mosquitoes every week that are non-biting, lab-raised, genetically modified mosquitoes that will help the birds eat them and pretty much keep them from disease. So basically you're medicating the birds with these mosquitoes. Now, have we ever seen something that's medicating that's not naturally occurring ever actually benefit any of us? Listen to this, Bill Gates' Bovaer. Remember we talked about Bovaer, the dangers of it? All of a sudden now they're saying there's a mass amount of animals such as cattle, sheep that are dying. It's not just in Denmark. Cows are collapsing and dying all over because of Bovaer. Now, 2 cows have died from Bovaer in a farm in Norway as well. This week, Norway's dairy industry halted the use of Bovaer in cattle. This is that, Bill Gates derivative of food that's supposed to make your cows better for the climate. What is it doing? It's killing people. What's it doing? It's destroying the livestock. But you know what they said? That same livestock, you've been eating and drinking the milk, eating the beef. So what is it going to do to humans? Now let's go to this third story, dealing with, again, modifying something. If you remember, go back and do your history on ticks, on Rocky Mountain spotted fever, on rickettsia. If you start doing a lot of those researches, you're going to realize there's a heavy hand of government in ticks and being used. Now, we've talked about the dangers of rabbits and deer lately, if you remember. Why don't you listen to this new report. Now, we've discussed this a few years back. This has been probably 2 years ago. Man dies from meat allergy after eating a burger. Now, what they don't disclose is he was bit by a tick. Now, if you remember a few years ago, back in, I think, 2020, 2021, there was a scientist on the WEF, on the agenda panel for 2030, talking about how we needed to get away from meat, and we may even modify ticks to help people build up meat allergies. Think of all the people that's got meat allergies now. I wonder how they got it. Isn't it weird how this global reset group was pushing for meat allergies, and now all of a sudden people are dying from it? What about the cows that are dying that Bill Gates was pushing this Bovaer? You see how this modifying certain things is not actually beneficial. Think of the mosquitoes and the birds. You're going to see a problem with those mosquitoes and birds. It always happens. Think about the situation with now cattle. Think about the situation with now we're building this meat allergy that is literally causing harm not only to the animals, but it is taking people's lives for eating a burger based on tick usages. I want to read this story, and this was something that was being hidden from the people of UK. Listen to this. The UK Health Security Agency argued we cannot release the data because it will lead to absolute distress and anger from relatives that some of the data that come out from this and what they pushed all over Europe, it could wreak havoc and cause civil unrest. And so what they're doing is kind of like what we were talking about yesterday about hiding information from us. The amount, UK is saying, this is from the Telegraph, again, very liberal area, very liberal news source, and it says this: government is starting to withhold the data because they're scared that people will hear how damaging this was, not only to our health, but to the excess deaths. So they're willing to withhold the anger because of the distress and anger it would cause and the animosity it would cause for civil unrest. So the more that humans modify things, it's not actually good. Maybe we should just focus on what God is doing and not try to do things on our own, like our food system, like the mosquitoes, like the birds, even down to AI. And we're looking for man-made creations to now lead us spiritually. You got Jesus? I mean, come on. How dangerous is that? Goes along with this right here. That now they have to withhold the information from what they did back in 2019, 2020, 2021 because it would cause civil unrest because of the dangers of what this was versus actually what the virus was. Crazy. All right, I want to wrap up with the family. This is just amazing to me. You know, we were hoping for revival like we talked about. I want you to listen to this. Plummeting rates of Christianity is why the West is falling apart. The only spot that is focused on religion still, and it doesn't mean that we're perfect, is the South. From Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas, Missouri, all the way over Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, West Virginia, Kentucky. A majority of those states still want God in their homes. It says they still want a religious look at how it can help America. The rest of the country is 50% or less in needing or thinking they need God. That is a very scary statistic. Now that leads me to two more points. I want you to listen to this right here. It says, New Jersey bill is looking to get rid of homeschooling or calls a mandate for homeschoolers to teach and promote DEI and other liberal practices in their homes. So your government is overstepping to fix, quote unquote, fix homeschooling so they can indoctrinate your children even in your home. This would force parents to teach curriculums and highlights and promotes where the school system, the government, gets to come in your home and tell you exactly how you're supposed to teach your children. Now, why does that have to do with Christianity and the conservative movement, Colby? Well, because what we've seen with education is it's definitely ran by liberals, and therefore if they can teach your children the same way what they're teaching in public schools, what they're going to do is indoctrinate your children to be socialist, to be less Christian, and to be focused on this new world established order of a social governance or a world governance. That's what our educational system is showing. I mean, prime example, I want you to listen to this. This is from Wide Awake Media. It says, researchers show that children that goes to school have higher cortisol levels and significantly cause stress hormones to inundate that could cause for more anxiety, more ADHD diagnoses, and also environments that hurt the children worse. Choosing a school-free life is not radical. It's actually normal to human beings learning at their home. Different kids learn at different times. I want you to listen to my situation. Aiden was very smart, didn't have to really apply himself much, and pretty much went through school. My daughters, for the most part, the two in the middle, Harley and Eliza, they both have done well. They've had to study a little bit more, but pretty much they do okay. Selah has problems with dyslexia a little bit more, so she's getting some dyslexia training, and she's doing a lot better too. Now Jennings is all boy. He learns totally different from the rest of them. He doesn't want to do traditional school. Now we still make him do school. He has dyslexia too. I mean, he struggles reading words. He struggles with D's and B's and W and M. So we've taught him as much as we can. All of a sudden, the same dyslexia teacher that Selah had, and again, nothing against her, it's just the school system. She works with other children in public schools, private schools, so forth. She told us that Jennings is needing better learning skills, so we're thinking he's ADHD and he needs medicine. Now, that was a monster negative for me. I'm not putting my kid on medicine. I'm not putting my kid on Ritalin. I'm not doing anything like that. Here's where I want you to listen. When teachers, when government, when the overreach, and when parents are not leading, your family will be led astray. Go back to this story. The reason so many kids are hooked on all this stuff is because school systems have made for stress and anxiety. They tested and surveyed families and kids that went to a school setting and how it was not necessarily what was good for the kid. And they said actually it's become a negative to society. It has put our children on more stress and anxiety medicines than ever before. I told my wife, we can find another teacher, because I don't want someone telling me that medicine's the answer, that government intervention's the answer. It just may mean that kids need to learn different. That's the benefit of a family. We can teach our children in different ways that benefits that one kid. We know what's best for our children because we're the ones that father and mother those kids. We know best because that's what we want in homeschooling. I don't want the government stepping in telling me what I have to teach my children. See, here's the difference. Every story that I just told you has meant for more people innovating a man complex in our life instead of actually looking for God in every situation. The reason that the conservatives are flailing like crazy, the reason that we're losing Christianity and is plummeting like crazy in the West, the reason that we see the breakdown of families is because we've allowed for us to look to, if it be a left or right, a conservative or a Republican, or a Democrat or a liberal, or Elon Musk or Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama. We look for someone else to provide what we need instead of looking to God to provide it. And I'm scared to say, now, with AI being so brilliant, so smart, and so innovative, that it's going to become our God. Even churches are being brainwashed to use AI to be a liaison for Jesus. And I don't believe that was ever the case. I think we're seeing signs of an Antichrist look, apocalyptic look, and it scares me. Guys, give me your thoughts on today's videos, from homeschooling to food, even down to government regulation. The more we see government intervention in our life, the less we actually have freedom and the less we actually are going to thrive here in America, but in the world. Pay attention to these stories. Thank you so much for watching. God bless.